Hello, so today I'm doing a book review on Harry Potter number 3, The Prisoner of Azkaban. Now I gotta say, this has a really cool cover. You see this foreign flying bird, eagle. Yes, we find out later it's a hippogriff, but it looks cool, and we see Harry and Hermione on here. And I remember when I read this the first time, it just fell in the okay category. This is the only book we never deal with Lord Voldemort. We had his memory, we had him in Quill, we've had his actual self later on, but we don't deal with Lord Voldemort in this. This is more like a prequel, honestly. Like, it happens in current time, but with all the information given to you, it almost felt like a prequel. And when I first read it, I probably wasn't smart enough to connect all these things because I was like 8. But the amount of tie-ins there were so amazing. I'd be reading scenes, I'd be like, that part, yeah! This is the last book for the anxiety and emotion and stuff like that kick in, because I remember reading 4 and 5 and being like, oh crap, like, something's big going down here. And I kept wondering where this was going, because yes, Sirius Black is this estranged murderer all in the news, and he's apparently looking for Harry, and nobody wants Harry to go look for him, which is like weird, but okay. We start off, and there's the Hogsmeade consent form, whatever. I immediately knew he wasn't gonna get it. I'm sorry, I just knew, because of his aunt and uncle. But his uncle and him strike this deal that while his Aunt Marge is in town, nothing is going to happen, so say, then he will get his slip signed. Doesn't happen. I wanted to kill Marge through the book. I hated her so much. He kept sitting there knowing Harry had lost his parents and he's an orphan, and she's actually criticizing him to sit there and to insult this orphan. I was so happy when she blew up, and again I'm handing this to the movie because I wouldn't have ever pictured a human, quote, blowing up and drifting out of the sky had it not been for the movie, but it was great. We have this first sign of the black dog. The black dog is this, you know, is this like a black cat thing, like some superstitious thing? Because he sees this black dog when he accidentally flags the night bus, which is really cool, because you finally know how wizards get around when they don't have boom to fly on or whatever. And I didn't really see why Harry wasn't pulling out his broom to fly on it. I know they had the rule that you couldn't use magic, but are brooms really magic? I don't know, but he did end up using the night bus and all of that. I love when he met Fudge, and that's so weird saying. And there's like this, you know, him being the Ministry of Magic himself, and Harry basically having free reins, because he's like, don't worry about blowing up your aunt. That's just not at all. He had been sent a warning the previous year, and now he did something so significantly huge. Don't even worry about it. It's fine. One of my favorite scenes in the beginning is he stays at the Leaky Cauldron, this hotel, which he didn't really do that in the movie, but he like lives there for a week, and he gets this book that bites from Hagrid, and I should have seen this. This Hagrid becoming a professor was great. But when he's staying at this hotel, there's this mirror that talks to him. And which I gotta say, I'm one of these people who get home and I'm over there, okay, I gotta do this and this and this, and not to mention that I'm sitting in my room alone right now talking to a camera, so if there was a mirror talking to me, it would scare me to death. And there's this superstition of a black, and who is the Sirius Black? He's trying to come after Harry. First, Harry doesn't really get why, and there's just that big hype. I loved when he overheard Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, because they're like his parents. Like, Mrs. Weasley is the overprotective mother, and Mr. Weasley's kind of going along with her follow and setting the boundaries in to not go follow or looking for black whatever. I really didn't hit me how much I love the Weasley parents until the 4th one, but now rereading this it's adding on there. And he's talking, and he's like, after he overhears them, he's like, I'm not going to be murdered, and Mira goes, That's a spirit, dear. Can you imagine looking in the mirror every morning when you wake up sleep deprived or exhausted with like bedhead and all that, and the mirror making a comment? That would have been great. With Hermione getting quick sinks, somebody told me on Pottermore or another video or something, somebody mentioned that quick sinks is half nasal, which means it's a really, really, really intelligent cat. It's gotta say pet-wise, that works great for Hermione. Though I kind of wish she had gotten another owl because it would have been a bigger asset. And she keeps trying to kill Scabbers, and at first it's like, well, that's a cat and a mouse scenario. And then there's a part of me like, how many thousands of cats are there at school, and how many thousands of kids have pet rats? Because you'd think, like, that would be a constant problem. Not to mention, I don't think owls would be a fan of rats either. And at one point when he sees the cat and the dog going out for a stroll, sort of clued in on me there. He mentioned Cedric. And, oh, I never realized they had even mentioned him before the fourth one. They also mentioned Cho. Harry competed against both Cedric and Cho, and he beat Cho, but he lost to Cedric. The first time he ever lost to Snitz because the Dementors, and they came to feed, and it caused him to fall off the broom, and Lupin helps him with that by teaching him the Patronum spell. I loved Lupin. Werewolf or not, he was a fantastic teacher. Not even because he was nice to Harry, he actually taught them things. With looking back on it, didn't have much. Don't really know how close teaching was, but still. And I was so upset that he had to leave. I loved how he was taught that against the Dementors. And Cedric tried to call for a rematch because he didn't feel like it was fair. Still, it was just, oh, I love Cedric. He's such a good person. And I like how he kind of beat Cho. Like, he wants to date Cho, but he's still going to beat her for his team, whatever. Number 1. Where was his brain when the first Hogsmeade comes on? Number 1, he gets the mortar map, which, oh, I love that thing. I don't know if he ever got it back after the fourth one, but it was the best thing ever. And he goes to Hogsmeade's, and he doesn't take the invisibility cloak. Okay. Then there's the sightings of Sirius, and Sirius attacks Ron's bedpost at one point. And everything rips to shreds, the portrait is ripped up, and it's, whoa, this is some crazy rune tag, what the fuck's going on here? And you mean like, what the F? And there had been this mention that Neville had lost his passwords beforehand, and Sirius supposedly found it, and that's how he got in, because he read off the list. Okay. Yeah, that was just the little meticulous details that can lead to a big plot twist. I loved the animagus. The invisibility cloak slips off and Draco sees him. That was when Hermione and Ron, and Harry too, Harry came around at the end. I felt so bad for Hermione because she had so much stress, and there's that issue with Buckbeak, and I would have been so confused had I not been thinking of the movie. I was mad at Hermione, but I could see a point, and I couldn't figure out what emotion I wanted to feel for her, so I don't know, with her telling that the firebolt Harry had been sent at Christmas. Number 1, I love the students having Christmas dinner with Dumbledore and all the teachers. That would be a little awkward though. I'm trying to imagine if I ever had to have dinner with like a principal and like 12 of my teachers, and that would be my worst nightmare. But still, I like that in there. When Harry finally gets noticed at Hogsmeade, Draco sees his head, and why didn't Harry just put the invisibility cloak back on, run back up to the dorm room, go in his bed, or go in like his dorm room, take it off, come back downstairs to the dorm room so Neville could see him, so when Snape's like, where is he? Neville can be like, oh, he's just upstairs, like sleeping or something, and something like that. No, you have no brain. I like how Lupin finds some water map, and of course he knows what it is because he created the damn thing. I like divination. Professor Trelawney. Harry and Ron are complete shit at it. Hermione ends up giving it up, and it's a very different subject. I feel like it's not as studyable, one, you just kind of have to have a bit of an act for it. I never realized this was in the third one. I always thought it was in the fourth one. Towards the end, Professor Trelawney has this, like, possession takeover where she's like, the Dark Lord's gonna return. My God, if I had read this the day it came out and I'm thinking towards the fourth one, that would have been freaking huge. I would have, like, lost my shit with that one. I also really like how the adventure in this one happens in 0.5 seconds. Yes, the Chamber of Secrets one was fast too. The first one was more planned. Ever since then, it was kind of planned too. But this one, they were not supposed to go on this adventure or whatever. They're walking back from Hagrid's and shit just starts happening. The Time Turner. The Time Turner, someone said this to me. I never checked to see if it was true. Apparently, if you turn it back, like, more than a couple times, then you could die or you can go insane or something. So I guess that's why they would never turn it back to the night Voldemort killed Harry's parents to save them, so, like, all that could happen. And then again, even if that's not true that you can't die, it's a bit risky. Even Dumbledore himself, this greatest wizard of all time, to know that the death of two people and a child becoming an orphan, to go back in time and to, yes, give that child this happiness of parents, whatever, but to go back in time and risk having the Dark Lord win and still be in power, or that not happening, it would have been, I could see why hours afterhand people weren't going back. They were way too scared, and it just leaves questions open. I would like a whole novel about a Time Turner, JK, if you could just give us one of those. When everything happens, first off, there's Sirius and the whole rat. The rat was the big plot twist. They get past this Whomping Willow. Two big backstories in this was that Snape had been following Lupin because the Squeaking Sack and the Whomping Willow and all of that was created for Lupin when he was in werewolf form and out of his mind, and Lupin and James and Sirius were best pals, so James and Sirius were animagus, and now thinking about it, it would be so cool to be an animagus. I know McGonagall was one of them, but that's only because she's like a really cool, powerful witch. Bet Dumbledore could be one. I'm thinking how Harry sort of became one, because how awesome would it be to transfer yourself to an animal? They'd go down there when Lupin was in werewolf form and help him, whatnot, and Snape followed them as a prank that Sirius said to Snape to try to kill him. I never really saw Snape's, quote, anger towards James. Yes, James was a part of the trio, and he saved him from it. I never saw it as cowardice. I mean, I don't know if Snape figured out that Dumbledore allowed them to do that, but yes, it could have gone drastically wrong. I never saw Snape always having to blame James, though. He should have blamed Sirius more. Just saying. And the second big backstory, number one, you find out that Sirius is Harry's godfather. Hogsmeade and the teachers are talking. Granted, Harry had no invisibility cloak and was hiding under the table, yes. And the teachers are talking, and number one, you realize Sirius is Harry's godfather because he was best friends with James, whatnot, which is like, would have been a big plot twist had I been reading it for the first time. Number two, what I never remembered was the backstory that Hagrid picked up Harry and was meant to take him back to Dumbledore, but he didn't have a mode of transportation. I don't know how he was planning to get there because Hagrid's not a wizard. He can't operate whatever. And Sirius shows up. I don't know if they mentioned this in the first one now, looking back at it. Sirius shows up and he wants to care for Harry, but he can't because it's Dumbledore's orders that Harry has to go to Dursley's by Hagrid or whatever. So Sirius gives Hagrid his bike, and that's how the bike comes into play. Of course, we see it later, and the little tiny details that killed me. Now all this shit happens, and the rat's transformed. Sirius' guilt he felt made me feel so bad for Sirius. Seeing his guilt was made me realize what Harry realized and how he forgave him, or believed him, I should say. There's the stupid rat, Pettigrew. Yeah, he comes into play a lot later on in the series. When he transforms, I'm like, oh my god, how the fuck did no one notice that there's a rat that's an animagus? And this whole one thing, it was genius. Okay, just gonna say that. And Lupin goes to kill him, and Sirius is gonna kill him too. Snape comes in using Harry's invisibility cloak. Kind of interesting because I don't know if Snape ever figured out it was Harry's or if it was one of the other ones. He sneaks in there being invisible and he's gonna fuck the whole thing up basically because he wants a stupid plank revenge. I really hated Snape in this one. He was always cold and rude and mean, but this one he's being unpractical and all of that. And they knock him out. I don't remember who knocks him out, if it was Harry or Sirius, but one of them knocked him out, and Hermione's like, oh god, we've assaulted a teacher. Oh shit. The thing that really made me emotional was Ron had a broken leg in this one, but in the movie he just stayed on the bed the whole time, and Hermione and Ron are throwing themselves in front of Harry. Ron's over there with a broken leg, dying in pain, still throwing himself in front of Harry to save his life or whatever. The emotions I felt from that. Oh, I love my trio. When Snape gets knocked out and they're carrying him back to the castle and he keeps bumping his head on the ceiling. It's great. The rat gets tied up. Sirius is going to have his name finally cleared and Harry's going to go with him. Felt so happy for a whole 5 seconds. Then werewolf happens. The going back in time would have made no sense to me if I hadn't watched the movie, how they went back in time and they saved Buckbeak. And there's a lot of waiting when they go back in time. Harry goes and saves himself, and I guess you just live with that mentally in your head, like, oh yeah, I went and saved myself. No biggie. I guess, with the Patronum, I love how he fully produced a Patronum, and it was his father's and Omega's. It was great. I love that. And he saves himself, he saves Buckbeak. Sirius is not cleared. Love when Dumbledore gave him consent to do that. Love me some Dumbledore. Never mentioned this earlier. The cup. Number one, they get the house cup again, I think. But Gryffindor wins the Quidditch Cup. And one of my favorite parts in this entire book was that when they're playing the final game, whoever wins this game will get the cup. And it's a lot of pressure Harry feels. And they mentioned they sold this in the first movie, but they didn't really show it in the other ones. They didn't even have the full Quidditch matches on the other movies. But the fifth movie, we were like, what's Quidditch? We don't know that. But the announcer, I think his name is Jordan, I don't know, where he's a Gryffindor, so he's biased towards Gryffindor and really against Slytherin. And fucking hated Draco when he grabs Harry's broom trying to hold on, and it pisses everyone off, and Jordan's over there cussing, and at first McGonagall's like, stop it, you're saying this in front of whole arena, and then McGonagall gets so mad that Draco grabs Harry's broom, she's over there cussing herself. Love that. And they get the snits, and McGonagall is sobbing of joy. It was great. I loved it, how they won the Quidditch Cup. It was great. The connections they all had. I'm so sad that Sirius couldn't be cleared and Harry couldn't go with them and all that. But the happiness, Harry finally has a family in this one. And his friends and all of that. It was great. I like this a lot more now, I think. Yeah, it's not up there on my favorites, but it's not as well as it was. It wasn't some. I love me some Harry Potter. If you're ever in a reading slump, read Harry Potter. It'll help you out there. I'm Annalise. Thank you for watching. Bye!